Hi everyone, welcome back to All Things Academic with Erica, aka Professor Lloyd. On my channel, we talk about academic lifestyle and planning for passion and productivity. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to find a postdoc. But before we talk about my tips for finding a postdoc, I want to talk about what a postdoc position is. So there are lots of different types of postdoctoral positions. So postdoc really is just shorthand for postdoctoral position, and oftentimes people will do positions after their PhD. And there are lots of different types of postdocs. The fortunate thing about postdocs is that there's a lot of variability in the different types of positions. The ones that I'm most familiar with are clinical postdoc positions and research postdoc positions. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the research postdoc positions. So before I give you my tips for how to find a postdoc, I'm going to talk a little bit about why you might want to do a postdoc position. The first reason you might want to do a postdoc position is to make yourself more competitive for tenure track jobs or for research jobs. Some people might decide, instead of going directly from their PhD into tenure track position, they might want to spend 1, 2, 3 years getting additional training and really focusing on research. You will have more time to grow your research program, to focus on your research program. You might have more time to spend publishing papers, getting additional teaching experience if the position allows. Many people will pursue this position to make themselves more competitive for tenure track jobs or for other research positions. Another reason why you might consider pursuing a postdoctoral position or a postdoc is so that you can focus on research without the departmental, administrative, teaching responsibilities, service responsibilities that often come with a tenure track job. Getting your research program off the ground, publishing papers, applying for external funding, maybe applying for internal funding in your own university. You will also be balancing that with teaching responsibilities. That can be quite challenging, trying to manage all of these different responsibilities. So you might consider doing a postdoc position to focus on building your research program before you transition into a tenure track job where you'll be asked to manage all of these different responsibilities. Another reason why you might consider pursuing a postdoc position is to further develop your skills and interests. When I finished my PhD, I wanted to build out an additional area of research, which was prevention science. And the best way for me to do that is to apply for a postdoctoral position that would allow me to spend time further developing those skills and interests so that when I went on the job market, I was able to apply for jobs and say, I have training in these 2 areas. So if you wanted to build out expertise in a particular area, a postdoc might be a really great place to do that. So let's get into finding these positions. So there's no one description of what the postdoctoral position is, and because it's so varied, there can be lots of different ways to find them, but I'll be sharing lots of different tips that were helpful for me and tips that I've given to other colleagues along the way that have helped them find these positions. Usually, you will start searching for postdoc positions in the fall of your last year before you go on the job market. So you might consider applying for both tenure track jobs and postdoctoral positions. And there are lots of different positions that their applications are actually due in October, November, December of the year. So you want to make sure that you start early. Don't wait until the spring of your last year to start looking for those positions. As you're applying for positions, you also want to make sure that you have multiple people look over your materials. So you want people to look over your curriculum vitae, your research statement, if it requires a teaching statement, if it requires a diversity statement, which many universities are now requiring. You want to make sure that you have as many eyes on those documents as possible. And the benefit of having lots of different eyes on your materials is that if you can have advisors or maybe your peer look over it, a lot of times your advisors have seen these materials and know what people are looking for. So it's really important that you have someone look over your materials. You don't want to wait until the last minute because then it's more difficult for people to give you feedback on your documents. Also know that there are many ways to find these positions that I'm going to talk about today. There's not just one way, unfortunately, to find a postdoc, but there's lots of different ways, which I think can lead to some of that uncertainty we feel in academia, that there's not one place that you can apply. There's actually lots of different ways that you can find these positions. Tip number 1, you can actually apply for a fellowship and create your own postdoctoral position. So there are lots of different fellowships out there. The NIH, National Institutes of Health, they have the NRSAs, postdoctoral fellowships that you can apply for. The Ford Foundation, the Spencer Foundation, National Science Foundation also has some fellowships that you can apply for. And the nice thing about these fellowships is that you can often create your own job through these fellowships. You essentially write the application to fund your position. There's also many university presidential postdoctoral fellowships. So I'm in the University of California. We have multiple mechanisms through the President's Postdoctoral Fellowship Program and through the Chancellor's Postdoctoral Fellowship Programs. Many universities, University of Chicago, University of Pittsburgh, many universities have these presidential postdoctoral positions. The second place that you can find postdocs is applying for specific positions. So you might be wondering, how do I find these positions? Where are they listed? They're listed in lots of different places. One place that they're listed is on search engines. So if you have professional organizations in your discipline, and those disciplines will have listservs. So in my discipline, there are lots of different organizations that have listservs. You can get on to their email listservs. You can also search. One place that you can search for these positions is in the Chronicle, or there's also a website called herc.org, H-E-R-C, which I'll post all of these links in the description below. But there's lots of different search engines for you to just search postdoctoral position or postdoc, and so you can find positions by searching for them. Another place to look for postdocs is to go to a specific department's website. So if there's a department that you're interested in, sometimes these postdoctoral positions will also be listed on their website. And I know that the year that I applied for postdocs, the postdoc that I actually ended up getting was both circulated through listservs, but also posted on their website. So if they have a link on their website that's for job positions, sometimes departments will list those postdoctoral positions in that space. The last three tips that I want to share are really about those informal and formal networks and networking that we have to do in academia in order to be successful. So the first tip that I have is to ask your advisors. Ask your advisors to send any positions that come across their desk that might be related to you. A lot of people will send me directly positions because they know the types of students that I train, and they know the type of research that I do, and they might be looking for someone in that specific vein of research. Another tip is to consider contacting professors directly. So one tip that people may not know is that at any given time of the year, faculty members or researchers, or they're also known as principal investigators, PIs, if they have an active grant or they're a new faculty member, or even if they're not a new faculty member, they may have some funds to support a postdoctoral position. And so you might consider contacting those professors and asking them directly if they are planning to hire a postdoc in the near future, or when you plan to go on the job market. And it's really quite interesting because I've seen in some cases where people have created postdoctoral positions because they had money linked to grants. They've created positions for people as they were going on the job market. So postdocs can really be created at any time of the year for any link to any research project, really. And then finally, the last thing that you want to do to try to find a postdoc is to just ask around. So I learned about the Psychology Jobs Wiki because other postdocs told me about it. So there's a lot of insider information that happens, unfortunately, in academia, and we only get access to this information by asking around and networking. So as you're going to conferences, you might consider asking around, sparking a conversation with researchers about, I'm going on the job market in the fall, and I was just wondering if you've heard of any postdoctoral positions that will be available in the near future. So there's lots of different ways to find a postdoc, fortunately and unfortunately. So I hope this information has been helpful to you. If you found value in this content, consider giving it a thumbs up and consider subscribing and joining us on this journey as we talk about academic lifestyle and planning for passion and productivity. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.